Good evening, class. I just wanted to make a quick video to provide some tips for reading William James's The Varieties of Religious Experience, which is the first primary literature we'll be reading. The primary text just means we're not reading a text which summarizes or comments or explains another text. We're going to be reading the text itself. We won't be reading all of the text. We're going to restrict ourselves to four topics, those topics being the second lecture, the circumscription of the topic, the third lecture, the reality of the unseen, and then we have the healthy mindedness, which is broken up into lectures 4 and 5, and the sick soul, which is broken up into lectures 6 and 7. Now, the reasons I say lectures as opposed to chapters is that this book, The Varieties of Religious Experience, was first a lecture series that he gave at Edinburgh. He being William James, and so the chapters on the PDF that I gave you also say lectures. So two general tips for reading primary literature. First, William James assumes a large vocabulary. You'll see a lot of college level words. Be sure to look all of those up. You may think you can skip over one or two, but there's quite a few in each paragraph. And in a similar sense, he also uses a lot of Latin and French phrases as in addition to a few Greek and German. So just be sure to Google those phrases. They're pretty common, and if you just Google the phrase, it'll give you the translation in English. But be sure to do that because if you skip over it and you get like in a page you get 5 to 12, chances are you won't gain the full meaning of what he's trying to say. William James also assumes you know a lot of other thinkers, which you may or may not. He'll do a lot of what we call name dropping. He'll mention a lot of people. The good thing is that he usually explains why he's mentioning the particular person that he does. Some examples might be Voltaire or Tolstoy, which both have a lot of work. But he'll usually give a quote from them or explain something about why he's using them as a particular thinker as opposed to a different particular thinker. So be sure you understand why he's using each thinker. If you're unclear on why he's mentioning a particular person, go ahead and send me an email or a message through Canvas and I'll respond back to it and sort of look at the context there and try to give you an answer. Now, the third thing for this particular text, which is helpful, at the beginning of each one of the chapters, he gives a section of or a brief, what looks like a paragraph, but it's just a series of subtitles. I'll hold it up for you so you can see. The first one you may or may not be able to see, but you do have the PDF. So the first part, it says futility of the topic. Oh no, sorry, futility of a simple definition of religion, and then it just proceeds from one um, sort of thesis or topic to the next. The next one says no one specific religious sentiment. After that, it says institutional and personal religion, and then after that, it says we confine ourselves to the personal branch, and so on and so forth. There'll be about a dozen or so of these for each one of the lectures. And what I would suggest is before you read each lecture that he writes, go ahead and just read through these series of subtopics or theses. And not only to familiarize yourself, because he will be mentioning each one, but there is a logical progression and connection between each one. And if you're able to grasp the logical connection, how he moves from one thesis or topic to the next, it really helps with an overall comprehension of the lecture. So, for example, the first one says futility of a simple definition of religion. This is where he begins, and he doesn't think that there is a simple definition of religion, and he explains why very quickly. He essentially says there's been so many definitions of the essence of religion, and they've been so varied, and they're by intelligent people, scholars in these subjects, and but yet they're so different that we can see a futility in agreeing upon a simple definition of religion, and therefore he doesn't give one. He also therefore gives an analogy of government, but that's in relation to this futility of a simple definition of religion. Now, from that, he goes to the next topic and no one specific religious sentiment. A sentiment is sort of a feeling or an emotion, an attitude towards something. Some sentiments might be love, fear, hope, awe, and we can have these emotions towards religious objects or secular objects, but they're the same range or host of emotions, but we can just feel them towards something religious or something non-religious. But he doesn't think there's one particular religious sentiment. And so now, one of the things to do after you've read both of these, only in the first few pages of this lecture, ask, well, how are they related? Right? He's going to relate them soon, but be following the logic. Then he divides religion into an institutional and a personal branch. And the next topic, topic 4 in this section, says that we're going to confine ourselves to the personal branch. Now, he doesn't do this arbitrarily per se. He doesn't say something like, because I'm a psychologist of religion and because psychology deals with the personal, I'm going to confine myself to the personal branch. Whereas if I was a historian or a sociologist, I would confine myself to the institutional branch. No, he has a particular reason for doing it. And so, again, look for the reason. It has a bit to do with this division he makes, this quite interesting division between first-hand and second-hand religious experience. First-hand religious experience are those experiences of the divine or the profound or the something religious or that one individual has. The second-hand experience has to do with once this individual has this first-hand religious experience, they begin to tell others. Others find this meaningful or truthful, and they adopt this experience or the truth and meaning of this experience as their own. And this is often what results in the institutional branch or division of religion. But William James argues that the personal religious experience or the personal branch is what makes the institutional branch possible, and therefore he's going to investigate the personal branch. Only after he's given these first 4 points does he give his own definition of religion, which won't have an essence. It won't focus on particular sentiments that are religious, and it's going to be of the personal branch, right? And he has a certain logic as to why there is. After he gives this definition, note what it is. He'll give a definition of religion, and then he'll analyze a lot of the words in it, and he'll try to refine and the definition of religion to better target what he's going to say. The first definition of religion he gives has the word divine in it, and he finds that he is not entirely clear what the word divine means, particularly because, as he notes, certain religions are atheistic, and that seems to clash with some understandings of what divine means. And so he has to go in and try to uh, understand and give the audience a better understanding of what he means. And this is where we get the next section, meaning, which is meaning of the term divine, right? And so he's going to say the word divine, and then afterwards he'll use the word godlike, and then he'll try to explain what that is, given that there's so many different and varied gods over history that almost anything could be godlike. And he'll just continue and continue. But the point is, these subsections or brief thesis statements that he makes uh, are logically connected. And to understand the logical connection between them, I would say, is to come close to fully comprehending all that he's trying to say. If so read those subsections beforehand, that brief thing that looks like a small abstract or paragraph. Um, and then read the chapter looking for each one of those topics. And after you finish the chapter, go back and see if you can give a summary of the connections between those ideas. And if you can, that is would be excellent. That'll show what I would argue would be full comprehension of each one of the lectures. And each one of the lectures has these series of statements or thesis statements at the beginning. So I hope this helps. Remember, A, look up any word you don't understand. and this goes for phrases in other languages as well, such mostly Latin and French. Um, really be clear on why he's mentioning a particular thinker. What about this thinker does he want you to know, and why does he think it's quite relevant to what he's trying to say? And then follow the logical progression of the various topics he mentions. And I think I think if you do all that, uh, the comprehension will be quite thorough. Okay, I hope this helps. Have a good evening, and good luck with all the assignments.